Being a woman of high status, high worth, and high self-esteem is no easy feat. Girls, being that girl comes with its own stuff. We pursue excellence and we pursue status because we understand that quality is drawn to us, but that doesn't make dating and relationships any easier. So in this video, I am going to be giving you some rules. You know, I don't do rules, maybe some principles, some positions to hold on to for 2023, because something in my black swan waters is telling me that a lot of us are going to be gliding and swimming up the lake of love and marriage in 2023. So pay close attention, because I know that you have put in so much work. Now, I am getting ready to go out for the Christmas dinner with the girls. My house is manic. I'm literally hidden in the corner of my bedroom because when I get dressed, everything is messy. I take out all the dresses, I put all the, it's crazy in here. So let's get started. Like I said earlier, being a black swan means that you're a very, very rare creature. A lot of men haven't met women like us, women who have high self-worth, high self-esteem, because we show up confidently and kindly. We're warm, we are thoughtful, we are ladylike, we are just so well put together, well groomed, absolute stars with hearts of gold. I mean, this is a killer combination. Now, you're probably thinking, why haven't we been snapped up in 2023? I mean, surely by now there should be no single black swan. And those of us who are married black swans are thinking, why hasn't my husband come to his senses? Why hasn't my boyfriend proposed yet? Does he not see the quality before him? Right. It's a bit confusing. We do all of this work on ourselves and put in all this effort. We hit the gym, we look good, we eat well, we speak well, we ascend, we work on ourselves, we evolve, we heal, we grow, and the person we're with doesn't seem to appreciate us anymore. And the men we're dating don't seem to appreciate all the hard work we put in, even though we're very rare creatures. This is because when you live in a world where average and normal is amazing, you deal with men feeling confused. You deal with men who are waiting for the other shoe to drop. They're just waiting for you to confirm that all women are the same. And so you don't tend to be in a relationship, do you? You tend to be in this situation where you would just always feel like somebody's waiting to catch you out, right? How many of us have felt like we're dating and we're showing up as the black swan that we are, but the guy is kind of thinking, I wonder when the other shoe's gonna drop. I wonder when I'm gonna figure out that she's completely crazy and completely mad. No, that's not the energy that's gonna build and foster love. You know, that's the other person setting a lot of traps for you to come out and show you're ugly, right? So no one should really mess with the black swan, because as gracious and as beautiful as we are rather we're lions too. Black swans are actually really scary birds that can run off dogs. Yes, we run off dogs, we do. But if we're left alone and given the water that we need to swim, the love, the affection, and the acceptance we need to swim, what are we going to do? We're going to shine like diamonds, and we're going to adorn and be a crown on the head of any man who proves himself worthy to be in our lives. So what are some of the things that we really have to bear in mind as we proceed in our glorious, wonderful self in 2023? These are in no particular order. But ladies, we reserve the right to change our minds. That's rule number one. You and I, we reserve the right to change our minds. What does that mean? That means that if I meet a guy and things are great and things go well, and then he does the shift thing, I reserve my right to change my mind to continue to see him. But also, I reserve the right to change my mind if a gentleman decided that the climb was too high and it was too high a climb. He goes away, thinks about it, decides maybe I might want to give it another try. Maybe I want to try climbing Mount Kilimanjaro again. You know, I feel like I've done some work on myself and I'm ready to climb. We give ourselves the right to change our minds about the men that we decided we didn't want to be with anymore. And I'm not talking about your toxic guy. I'm not talking about the guy that hit you or was violent emotionally, verbally, spiritually. No kind of violence. I'm really talking about the guy that bowed out of the race in some way, gave a story of sorts because he didn't think that he was worthy. So we're talking about the man that really did not feel worthy of you. Maybe he slid off or ghosted. Mama Swan, you were telling us to deal with men that have ghosted. I want you to know that I've had some swans in 2023 who have changed their minds about a ghoster and now are actually well on their way to marriage, because sometimes men are just not ready to meet a black swan. Many guys stumble upon black swans. We're just rare. We're not around. And their feelings of inadequacies can really come up, or they might feel like, I'm really not ready to honor that woman in the way that she deserves. So I'm just going to go and play with the ducks and the chickens, out there. And they come back ready to pay the price, ready to be for you what they were not ready to be for you in the past. So what we're not going to do is run off with this whole, once an ex, there's a reason why he was an ex and once an ex. Sometimes some people come back ready to change, especially if you set your standards and they rejected you because of your standards. At this point, they may come back to see if your standards have changed. But often, if you were that lady and it ended well and you were your 100% best, this man is going to try and come back, and maybe he's done some weightlifting. Maybe he's done some work on himself and he's ready to climb the mountain to the Black Swan City and get himself a black swan. Okay, so I want us to enter into 2023 giving ourselves permission to change our minds. It's okay to change your mind. Even if you told all your friends, all your family, he's a complete loser, I want nothing to do with him, it's okay for you to change your mind about this man. But I advise you to book a call with a Black Swan coach so that we can see if it's really, really worth you changing your mind. But give yourself a chance to change your mind. So many of us feel like what we said yesterday has to stay today. There's so many things that I used to teach in the early part of my career that I believed in totally, that I now realize with the change of things and the dynamics in the relationship space are no longer relevant, no longer work. And now we have to adapt. Adaptation, evolution is important for all of us. So don't be stuck in one way of thinking or one position that you've held. Sometimes we can change our minds. We can change our minds. This is why we can, because God knows that at some point in our lives, what we thought was right, it's not always going to be right. So for instance, I no longer not become friends with the exes. It's not something that I do in general, but I'm at that stage in my life where I meet great guys. And well, it didn't work romantically, but it doesn't mean we can't talk. It doesn't mean we can't be friends. It doesn't mean that we cannot continue something, because 2-3 years from now, you may be a different man. And I want to make sure that I have kept good energy around me. This is a big change of mind that I've had. They can't string me along. I've really worked on myself in so many ways that actually I don't want to lose good people who bring value into my life in different ways because it didn't work out romantically. So I've changed my mind, and I continue to reserve the right to change my mind. And I want you Black Swans to realize that you can change your mind. This is not permission to keep a guy who wants to string you along as a friend. I'm talking about when you are a woman that meets a lot of high quality men like Mama Swan here, and they bring so much more to your life. It just wasn't compatible, but otherwise it was a fantastic relationship, and both of you really feel like you don't want to lose that value. Okay, fantastic. So we reserve the right to change our minds. The next point is we reserve the right to acknowledge our wrongs without self-condemnation. Look, I know that when we have broken up with somebody, after a while you think, we are not as women taught to be accountable, take responsibility for our actions. But I want to say that in 2023, reserve the right to be wrong. Okay, it's okay. Everybody makes mistakes, and often we're wrong. There are no prizes for being the girl who gets it right all the time. There are no prizes for being the girl who doesn't think that she has anything to apologize for. There are just no prizes for being that woman. It's okay to say, I was wrong. I made a wrong move. I wasn't quite right. I didn't interpret that situation the way that I should have. I was highly emotional, so I misread that situation. I want us to give ourselves permission to say, hey, you know, I think I was wrong. Even if we went off and told our friends, oh my goodness, this is what he does. It's okay to say, I'm wrong. I was wrong. I was wrong about that. Taking responsibility and being accountable for your actions, your movements, the things that you did, that matters. It matters. It absolutely matters. And I want you to know that every black swan, especially when things go wrong, is able to take responsibility for her piece in the big puzzle and why it fell apart. If we can learn, those of us who are dating and in relationships and married, to really focus on where we went wrong and the dynamic that we therefore initiated because of that wrong move or that mistake. You know, sometimes we think, you know, I have been good 100% of the time. I've been a good girl. I haven't made any mistakes. But truly, maybe that little tiny mistake you made shifted the dynamic and the energy of the relationship and brought it to a point where uglier things happened that maybe you were not responsible for, something that your partner has to take responsibility for in terms of their reaction. But we are always setting things in motion, and sometimes a tiny mistake is a huge mistake. So really, at this point in our lives, we just want to chill, we want to relax, and we want to say, you know what, sometimes I get it wrong. Just because I am a high value, high status, high worth woman doesn't mean that I don't get things wrong. And it doesn't mean that in that situation, I wasn't the problem. Growing to realize that we may be the toxic ones sometimes is the key in life. And it's okay for us to say, maybe I was the toxic one. Maybe I was the one who was wrong. Maybe I'm the one who addressed it the wrong way. Maybe I was the one who had the wrong timing in addressing it. Maybe I was the one with a bad attitude as I addressed it. Maybe I was the one who was wrong, and just own up to it, because I promise you, your relationships and your dating world will absolutely change when you're that girl who is prepared to own up to being wrong. Number 3, stop making up stories about men in your head. Okay, so if you go on my Instagram, Black Swan Relationship Academy, I did a live over this season, probably the last few weeks, where I discussed this very issue about making up stories in our heads. I think it needs to be okay that if a guy doesn't respond, you don't know why he didn't respond, and you don't go off making stories in your head. It's the stories in our heads that are actually destroying our potentials for relationship and that are actually ruining the relationship that we are in. We are making up so many stories, and where do these stories come from? They come from our past, they come from our ego, they come from our pain, they come from our perpetual patterns and narratives that we create, and that doesn't give the person you're with a fair go. Can we accept that this is a unique individual who may be responding uniquely to them, and they may not be able to understand exactly how that affects you, and that you're left to really communicate, and that it's okay not to know. And I've done a whole hour video on that, about stop telling yourself stories. So I'm not going to repeat myself. Just go on over to my Instagram and watch that live, because I go into that. But in 2023, ladies, we really have to hone in our stories. We got to kidnap our stories, bring them in, tie them up, put them on the side, because the stories we are telling ourselves about why somebody's doing what they're doing, why what are creating these situations. So if we're not gonna ask, if we're not gonna go for clarity, we're just gonna realize that we don't know, and that over time the truth will come out. But let's not assume it's because we are terrible beings. Let's not assume it's because we said something. Relationships don't fall apart because of one word said that was not right. Relationships fall apart over one argument. Relationships fall apart over multiple things building up over time. And either sometimes that's internally or externally. Sometimes people don't respond because they're just busy. And it's okay. Sometimes people don't respond because they're doubting what they want with you. Sometimes they don't respond because, well, you don't matter. But either way, none of those reasons have anything to do with you. You are an amazing black swan, and we need to be okay to not know certain things. How does that sound? Are we okay with that? I hope so. Number 4, we need to stop lifting content off the page, okay? And what do I mean by that? In 2023, and in 2022 and before, we have developed a culture of taking content, lifting it off the page of YouTube. Okay, I'm using page, metaphorically. But as you listen to this video, I don't want you to just take and lift content off the page and say, well, Chengi said that I need to give it another chance. Chengi said, I want you to really think. I want you to think. Ladies, I want you to think about whether that advice is relevant in your situation. Let's take some of the situations in the manosphere, for instance. Wealthy men come into the manosphere and start teaching men who are broke, busted, disgusted, middle of the range, average men, how life is for them. And then these men that don't have that kind of money, that don't have that kind of body, that don't have that kind of equity in the relationship space begin to make demands of women that they cannot, because they simply don't have the equity. Okay, they just do not have the emotional capital, the financial capital to really behave. They just simply don't have the cards to play that game. But they don't think. Many people don't think. We just lift content off and we think, yeah, that's right. What somebody who is very wealthy and has a great body and all these options can do, not every guy can do. And I found men really damaging their relationships because they're listening to men who are not in their situation. I know that all of my swans come from all walks of life. I had to learn that just because I got used to dating millionaires and wealthy men and men of stature, that wasn't going to be the reality for all of my swans. Some of us will date the average guy, and I've dated the average guy as well. I am not saying that, I'm particularly special, but when I suddenly started this channel, I was just dating very wealthy men. Those are the men that I had access to. Those are the men that I dated. And so a lot of my advice was really for women who were in that place. So I want us to understand that context matters. Obviously now I've been a relationship expert for several years. A very long time. I have worked with women from all walks of life, and I've come to understand that I have to give advice that can be applied by most people. And with that being said, I want you to know that we, as black swans, as amazing as we are from the different walks of life, we have a different set of cards to play with in the dating world. So don't just lift content and go and do it. Think about it. Am I that woman? Can I genuinely, at this point in my life, make those decisions? Is it sensible for me to make this move? Or maybe I just need to go work on myself a little bit more, raise my value, really substantiate my personal worth, maybe restyle myself, maybe lose those extra pounds, or maybe do something that will elevate my value to a point where I can ask for that asking price. Make sense? But if we are just lifting content off YouTube, we are going to create disasters that are already being created. I want us to be discern, be wise, take what's for you, leave what does not apply to you. I know we live in a world where we feel like you've got to apply everything, but we are being called as black swans to a higher level of consciousness. Not everything I watch on YouTube applies to me as much as I might want it to apply to me. I'm conscious. I'm a 45-year-old woman. There's certain things I can't ask of a man at 45 that I asked of him at the age of 25. At the age of 25, I had nothing really. At the age of 45, I have a lot. So asking a man to do for me at 45 what he could easily do at 25 is not going to be possible. A man has to be particularly wealthy to be with me and to surprise me and wow me, right? So I can't ask an average guy, if I'm dating an average guy, a blue collar guy, to perform at the level that I would have at 25. Because why did I need a 25? A dinner, nice shoes, you know, things that I couldn't afford to do for myself. So we have to look at our stage in life. We have to look at, you know, I don't have the body I had in my 30s. Hello, you know, got little rolls here, little rolls there. We've got to look at ourselves and say, you know what, this is something that I can no longer ask. I don't have the cards for that positioning. So I'm going to play my part, and I'm going to pick up my phone, and I'm going to call a coach, and I'm going to get information that is relevant for me at this point and place in my life. Last but not least, practice self-compassion. I cannot say this any louder or any clearer. We must practice the art of self-compassion. We're just too hard on ourselves, ladies. When we don't win in the game of love, we come down on ourselves like a ton of bricks, because I know black swans really want to be excellent. I know that black swans are women that really want to live their best lives and really ascend to the highest level of consciousness that is possible for them. I know that black swans, they just want to show up as their authentic true selves. And when we don't do that, and when we fail to show up as our best, we come down on ourselves. Sometimes that looks like choosing the wrong guy. Sometimes that looks like breaking some of your personal rules and maybe lowering some of your standards. And sometimes that looks like making your boundaries a little bit flexible. You think, that was a boundary. Why did I move it? That was a standard. Why didn't I stand by it? Why didn't I defend it? I'm a black swan. I should have known better. You are also a woman. You are also a woman. And sometimes we get lonely, and sometimes we miss being touched, and sometimes we just miss having somebody, and sometimes we just have these needs that we cannot meet by ourselves. And in those moments when we're presented with an opportunity for that person to meet our needs, sometimes it seems like a worthwhile compromise, but it doesn't make us bad people, and it doesn't make us ducks or chickens. It just makes us black swans that had moments of weakness, black swans that were not getting their needs met and really, really desired to get their needs met. This is really important, because if we don't show ourselves self-compassion, we're gonna lack the energy to get up and go. Because guess what? 2023 is our get up and go year. 2023 is the year where we walk in our power. Okay, 2023 is the year we walk in our power. I always ask God, what is the word for this year? What are you gonna do this year? God said, this year is the year of power. This year is the year where we're going to have power to create wealth. This year, we're going to have power to create the relationships that we crave and deserve. This year, we're going to have our personal power right back. This year, we're going to move with power in every area of our lives. And the only way to do that is to walk in self-compassion. Because when you don't show your self-compassion, you are powerless. You are powerless to the voices in your head. You're powerless to the accusation of the enemy. You are powerless to the opinions of others. But this is not the black swan life, is it? No, it's not. The black swan is a queen. She's an empress. She rules and reigns, and she is the effervescence, the beautiful fragrance in every room that she walks into. And so I hope that this year you get these rules. They're not about him. This coming year, we are really coming from within. We're winning from within, and we're positioning ourselves for the best kind of love, mature love, grown love. That is what I'm calling you to this coming year in 2023. I hope that you've got yourself your Christmas bundles. You must visit the Black Swan Relationship Academy Christmas shop and get yourself those bundles. It's time to get your insides ready for love. And perhaps we may extend the bundles through to January, and maybe, who knows, we will let it extend a little bit further. But I want you to invest in yourself, Black Swan. I want you to pick up the phone and make a call. I want you to book your call at the Black Swan Relationship Academy. Speak to one of the coaches. Let's start this year strong. You have been feeling your way in the dark. You've been wondering what on earth you're doing. We are here for you. We exist for you. I love you, and I wish you all of the best. May you have a fantastic new year, and I will see you on the flip side. In the meantime. take care of you. Bye-bye now. Well done for coming to the end of this video. What I want to ask you is, what have you learned? What is your takeaway? And what are you going to start practicing right away? Those 3 things are how you are going to get the best out of every class here at the Black Swan Relationship Academy. Please put it in the comments so that we can all have a look. So I can have a look, the coaches can have a look, and I promise you, we read every comment. We may not be able to reply to every comment, but we read all your comments and we want to see how you are growing. And we will see you on the next video.